Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Allotment Dram. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk about different whiskies in the surroundings of our North London allotment. You join me here today on what's been a little bit of a grey sort of meh afternoon, and been sort of overcast, a little bit cold, but perfectly fine, dry, that's the main thing, but perfectly fine for getting on with a few jobs here. Things are starting to grow, so you can see the broad beans behind me. They'll be ready in like another 2 or 3 months, something like that. They're poking up now, but also the weeds. So I've been doing quite a lot of weeding since I've been up here actually. But while that's all very interesting, you didn't tune in to hear about any of that, I'm pretty sure. You tuned in to, of course, hear about what the whiskey is today and what the Allotment Dram is. So what is it? Well, it's from a very famous distillery, one of the oldest distilleries in Scotland, and it's the Bowmore, 10 years old. So yeah, Bowmore, been there since 1779, so yeah, the second oldest distillery in Scotland that's still in operation. So Glen Turret's in the Highlands is the oldest at 1775, but 1779 it's the oldest one on Islay. And if you think that's a long time, I mean that's 244 years the distillery has been going. So founded by a gentleman called David Simpson, and it's now owned actually by Beam Suntory, and just relatively small actually for such a sort of well-known brand. It is quite small. It's just over 2 million litres a year, but is one of only a handful of distilleries actually from the 1700s that are still in operation. So yeah, real rarity and a lovely place. If you ever go or get the opportunity to go to Islay, then you have to visit Bowmore. If you look at the map of Islay, it's like a sort of horseshoe kind of on its side, with Loch in Dal, creating that sort of space in the middle, a big sea lock, and the island of Islay basically horseshoes its way around this sea lock, and Bowmore sits right on Loch in Dal. And it's just, you go into the distillery, you go to the tasting room particularly, you can look right over the loch, you can see right across to Brook Laddie on the other side actually, and also has the oldest bonded warehouse in the UK, which is warehouse number 1, which is where they keep a lot of their old and rare casks in particular. And yeah, it has a sort of quite weird atmosphere in there actually. It was the place where firstly you step down into it, so it's slightly below sea level, so I believe it's also the only bonded warehouse that's below sea level in the UK, and as well as being the oldest in the UK. But also it was the place where I get a lot of press releases and these whiskey companies or PR agencies, they kind of describe whiskey as having like a salty feel, and it was the first place where I actually went there and I could feel the saltiness in the air. So you think about the wood in the barrel has to breathe this salty air in and out. So yeah, it was the one that kind of made me stop thinking that was a bit of sort of marketing and was actually a reality. But what can I tell you about the 10-year-old Bowmore? Well, it's part of Bowmore's core travel retail range, so you can only actually get it in the airports or other travel retail outlets, and it's actually full maturation in ex-sherry casks. So 2 types of casks: the massive sherry butts, sort of 500-700 litres, and the hogshead, which are the sort of 200-225 litre sort of size, so big size, small size. And it's bottled at 40% and should cost you around £50, and this is 1 litre. If you notice, it's a 1 litre bottle, so seems pretty good value on the face of it. So I think probably without further ado we should have a little taste, shouldn't we? So just get the glass here. Oh, look at that. Yeah, lovely. Lovely sort of deep gold, sort of amber there. Let's have a smell. First of all, I'm getting like dried fruits here. Like raisin and sultana in particular. There's some candied orange as well, but what you get with Bowmore is smoke, you know, as you get with most of Islay, single malts and Islay whiskies, but you get some smoke, but it's a bit more delicate, it's a bit more sort of subtle than something like your big peaty Isleys like Lefroy or Ardbeg or Lagavulin. So yeah, this is quite a soft smoke. It still has that sort of bonfire medicinal sort of edge that you get with all Islay whiskies. You know, you can't really get away from it, but it's a bit more subtle, a bit more classy, some people say. But yeah, lovely, this sort of raisins, there's a bit of caramel as well. Got a lovely sort of sweet peat, but with this sort of ashy bonfire edge. Let's have a taste. Oh yeah, that's lovely. This sort of sweet peat with this sort of ashy edge comes through first, actually, right up front. And then you get these sort of sweeter elements, this caramel, these dried fruits, the raisins, sultana, the candied orange, slightly bitter orange actually, if I think about it. But now I'm getting some, yeah, the candied orange is almost like a marmalade, you know, good like Seville orange marmalade or something like that. And there's also, yeah, it's like a sweetness. I wanted to say golden syrup, but it's got something else to it. It's a bit more like maple syrup. And yeah, very, very nice actually. This sort of subtle smokiness kind of wisping around everything. Let's have another taste. There's a lovely balance actually between the sherry cask and this level of smoke, which sits in this sort of mid-range. As I say, there's Lefroy and Ardbeg particularly above it, and other Islay whiskies kind of sit in this. So you've got Kalila and Kilcoman. Bowmore itself sits in this sort of middle range. But yeah, I'm just trying to find some other sort of more subtle notes now, and they're coming through. It takes a bit of time, but there's some sea salt now. It's a nuttiness, like a toasted walnuts. And there's some spice, so like baking spice, so you know, classic cinnamon, allspice, etc. But there's also something a bit more almost antiseptic and medicinal, like clove. Really, really nice and very elegant for a smoky whiskey. I'm just getting this sort of floral note, sort of right at the end actually, that takes an edge off, takes a sort of ashy edge off the smoke. And it reminds me of those little Parma violet sweets, you know, you get, we're in the UK here anyway, you get in this sort of small sort of tube wrapped in sort of plastic film, and you basically suck on them, and they're slightly fizzy. But yeah, Parma violet sweets, that's an interesting one, isn't it? But yeah, that's probably about it. Really nice whiskey. I always liked Bowmore actually. So I always find it like really quite elegant and classy for an Islay whiskey, and you know, it does very well. You know, it's a very good selling whiskey. So I think probably from myself and the Bowmore 10 years old travel retail exclusive, we will bid you farewell. We'll let you get on with whatever you were doing before you stumbled across this video, and we hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again very soon on another Allotment Dram. Cheers!